Hey friends, it's me with the pink llama back again. So we finished our little bunny online, and I realized we forgot a couple things. We forgot the whiskers, and I'm going to show you how I did those real quick. So I get this dark wire at the hardware store. It's 19 gauge, it's like a black brown color. That's what I like to use for my whiskers on these bunnies, but you could use some jute, you could use some coconut fiber, whatever you want. You can use anything, but I like to use this dark wire, and I like to make my whiskers. I usually do them about 5, the wires, I do cut 2 wires about 5 to 6 inches long. Let me find my snip here. So I just measure out 5 to 6 inches. We'll do these about 6 inches. So I just snip that one, and then I just take the wire I cut and line it up, or measure my next cut with this wire. So then you have 2 wires about 6 inches long. So I hold them side by side together to make sure their ends are even. And then what I do is I try to fold them up in the middle, like so. And I pull that middle down, like so, and then I cross the 2 wires like that. And I twist them together. Just pull out your sides, and then I just give them a couple little twists just so they're together. Now you could do these individual if you wanted to, but I find doing them together works best. And then I have this little tool. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's a wire twister or a wire bender. I think you can get them on Amazon, Temu, places like that. This is what I twist up my little whiskers with. And I just take the very tip of that wire in, and I smash it down, and then I just twist it around like so. Now you don't have to have one of these tools to do this. You can use the end of a paintbrush, you can use a pencil, you can just twist with your fingers, whatever. And then I just pull it off, and I move it out of my way, and I go on to the next one. Now you don't have to twist these all in the same direction. You can twist them in different directions. You can do whatever you want. They're just little funky whiskers. You can just, bend them in kind of like a zigzag. So many different things you can do for a whisker. Now I couldn't post this video and not show y'all how I do whiskers, because what's a bunny without its cute little whiskers, right? It's pretty simple. Now if you're using these to get the wire off, you just kind of have to play with it just a little bit, and it comes right off. And I don't worry about mine having the same amount of twists. I don't worry about them going the same way. Nothing. So then we've got this little mess right here, and I just take my little pliers and I just pull them out. I just grab it by the end and I just pull them out. So after you pull them out, if you want to use your little pliers to adjust them, you can. I like the tips of mine to kind of be bent in just a little bit more so they don't snag things so much. And I'll do this and I'll show you what I mean. No, they're not, bent in all the way. They're just bent in just enough so they're not out and going to snag as easily. And this is what we have. We have our little whiskers, and then I just take my pliers, and in the very center of where I twisted, I like to kind of make a little indent, and then, so I've got my pliers in the very center, so I'm, squishing it, so it kind of squishes them up together, and then I just take my whiskers and I push them down. So you're almost making like a little U shape in the center, like so. And then, I get that just a little bit deep. You don't want it super deep. There you go. That's about what we have. Yeah. So let's go to our, I had to snip the nose off because I'd already glued it on. Now, our little whiskers should kind of fit down in that little groove just perfect. And I'm just going to hot glue them on there. You could add a little E6000 or, more permanent hold glue. And don't worry about your whiskers being in the perfect spot, exactly where you want them as far as, their shape. As long as you get that center where you want, after this glue dries, you can move your whiskers around. So I just put a little dab of glue on there. I've got a hair that's... And then I carefully line my nose up and stick it on. That way your middle wire is hidden underneath the nose. Okay, and then that's what we have. We have our little whiskers on our bunny. Now I will sit here and hold this for just a few minutes, just a, a few seconds. And make sure that my nose is squished down where I want it to be. Let's see here. So I need just a little dab of glue right on that bottom. Just a smidge, but be very careful when doing that so you don't get a lot of glue in your fur. Okay, there is our little whiskers. So the next thing we didn't get to in my video was like a little bow tie, or we are going to make him a boy, so we're going to give him a little bow tie. And then I'll show you how I do my girls as well. So we're going to set him aside. He's so cute. So I have just a strip of fabric that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I tore a chunk off. And this one is just about 2 inches wide. The length doesn't really matter because I just eyeball my length, but the length of this one is about 19 inches. But you don't need to worry about the length, just the width. And you can even make them different widths and stuff. You can make your bow ties and your bows any way you want. You can do them with ribbon. Possibilities are endless. But what I like to do is, oh sorry, I got an itchy nose. Let me mess with that fabric. That's for, I always get an itchy nose. I've got a clump on the end of my glue tool. Anytime you're messing with Sherpa, especially the long pile Sherpa, it's going to gunk up your glue tool, but you can just wipe that off. Let's see, I'm just getting a glue stick. So with this little, this is a Sherbonger, and this is their detail, like they call it a glue pin. They use the smaller glue sticks. So let me get that ready. And then, let's see, how big do we want this? So what I like to do is kind of just eyeball how big I might want my little bow tie. You don't want them super big, but sometimes those super big ones are really cute. Thinking about that big. So just make to your preference how long you want your little bow tie. And this is just how I do it. I'm sure there are many, many other ways and easier ways to do it. And everybody, the size of their bow tie, the size of their bows are different on every single one of them. Okay, he's going to have just a little bit bigger bow tie. I like that. So, what I like to do, because I tear my fabric, is I like to run a bead of glue all the way down one side. And I just fold over just a little bit, just so there isn't that raw edge. Now, you don't have to do this because I have made them to where, they have the frayed edge as well, and they turn out just as cute and they're just as popular. So let me do it down this next side. And because this one's curled over, I'm going to do just little sections at a time on this one. And it's just the way it ripped, it's fine. Okay, I think we're good. And then the next thing I do is I take some hemp cord, and I just fold my two ends over, my two ends, and I kind of meet them up in the middle. I overlap them just a smidge. And to make sure I have the middle, I fold it in half, because I want both sides of my bow tie to be the same. So I've got it in the middle right there. Got fuzz all over me. And then I just lay it in the center of my hemp cord. And if you need to, take just a little dot of glue if it's easier for you. Take just a little dot of glue to hold those two overlapped ends together. That's fine. And I just tie it up in the middle loosely, and then I kind of work with it. Make sure it's where I want it to be before I tighten it up too much. And again, I'll fold it over to make sure I'm in the center so that my two ends are the same. And then I'll just tighten it down. And trim off my edges, or my extra ends. And then you have a cute little bow tie, but we're not done. We're going to snip off, about a ½ inch wide and probably, I don't know, 2 inches long. Just a little tiny strip, and we are going to kind of fold our edges in. Well, actually on this one, no, I'm not going to fold my, yes I am. You know what, I need that just a little bit wider. Because on just a bow, like a bow I would do for my girl, I would do it the same. For the boy, you want to fold in your sides just so that it's a clean edge. So I fold them over just a little bit. And I still have, if you can see, a little bit wider, but the edges or the sides are folded in, and then I'm going to put that right in the middle and pull it around back and glue it down. So I'll glue down one side and hold it for just a second. And I pull it kind of tight, but not crazy, crazy tight. I pull it just a little tight, but you want just a little bit of give to it. And once I have it where I want it, I will glue down my other side of it. Now, if you wanted to put tails on this, you could. But this is how I like to do my simple little bow tie for my boy bunnies. And it's nothing fancy, but it's cute. And then I just kind of fluff it out and play around with it. And see how cute that's going to be. It's going to have a big old bow tie. So, before I do that, I sometimes like to run a little collar around that felt. So we will pull up all of our fur here off of that felt. And we're going to grab our fabric here. And just on a short end, I'm going to do just a maybe 1.5 inch wide. And I just eyeball it. And I'll tear tear that off. Alright, so this is about an inch and a half-ish wide. I'll measure, yeah, about an inch and a half. And then it's going to be about 19 inches long, but we're not going to need the full 19 inches. So on this one, I am going to leave my raw edge. I'm not going to worry about the raw edge because we are going to kind of fold it in half and run it around the felt that we had put on our bed spring to help us hold everything together. Yeah, that's about what I want. So let's do it like this. What I'll do is fold it in half again. I'm going to take my one end, and I'm going to start right in the dead center in the front. And I'm going to put my frayed edges facing up, I think, on this one. I'm just going to pull it around my bed spring. I do them different on every bunny. And I'm going to let them overlap just a smidge. And trim that off. And I'll tell you about how long we need for the regular large size bed spring. So it's going to be about, well, with the overlap, about 10 and a half inches. So it's about an inch and a half wide by 10 and a half inches long. And I think because we made the bow tie on this one a little more, put together, I think I'm going to go ahead and fold my edges instead of leaving the raw edge. I'm just going to go ahead and fold my edges over instead of folding it in half. Now each bunny, they all have their own personality. Even if I made them identical, the same patterns, the same everything, they're always going to look a little different and have their own little personality. It's just so fun. Now typically I don't like to use hot glue on items, that I'm going to be putting in the shop to sell, just because I want, a really good permanent hold. But once you get hot glue that touches the felt or any of the sherba, it's not coming off, and it would be really hard to use anything besides hot glue to put these together. So I think it's really going to be a pretty permanent hold. So again, we're going to go, I have my little wire here that wants to keep popping out. I'm going to go around and make sure I don't have any fur. You want that fur off of that felt. So you just want to brush it up so it's not on that felt. And then right in the center is where I'm going to start it. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and just on the felt, run that glue around the felt, and then I'm going to just stick my fabric right over it. Can you see that? And just do that all the way around. Again, make sure you're not doing it over your fur, you're just doing it over the felt that you use to cover the top of that bed spring. That we did in the very beginning of the light video. And I will put just a dab of glue where they're going to overlap. And I'll put just a little bit on the bottom so that they even up there. And then we have a little collar around our little bunny. And then, okay, where did I put my bow tie? Here on the ground. I'm just going to take a little bit of glue on the back middle part of my bow tie only. I just put the glue on the middle. And then I'm going to stick that bow tie right there in the center of the bunny. And then I'm going to go around and fluff that fur back down. And fluff out my little bow tie. Now you could put a little, vintage button or something like that in the center if you wanted to. But I'm going to probably just leave mine plain. We have our cute little bunny here. Now, the other thing, you can do this optional if you have, wood glasses that you get from somewhere. I like to get mine from the Rust Covered Cottage. You can put wood glasses on them. Or, you can get these little glasses. Let me show you. And I don't put these on all of my bunnies. Just now and then, I think I need them. You can get these little glasses at Hobby Lobby for a couple $. But I think the wood ones, the laser wood ones, look really cute. And I don't think he's calling for glasses. And you fix his little whiskers how I want them. And I'm going to trim up some of the hair around his eyes just a little bit. With this long pile Sherpa, you kind of have to do a little bit of trimming. But just do a little bit so you don't get any weird straight cuts and it looks funky. Okay, let's try the glasses again. I don't think he necessarily needs them. I think we're going to not give him glasses this time. But he would be cute with them. And that's what he looks like with glasses. So cute. And I would just glue them on, like on the sides I would glue them on. Or the other thing you could do is you could take a little U-pin, floral U-pin, and glue that down on the sides as well. And then I would glue just a little bit underneath so it stayed on the front. But that is an option, but I think he is done. So cute. Now, let me show you how I do the girl. Let me get my bunny put together real quick. I'll be right back.
All right, you're back with our little girl bunny, done the exact same way as our little boy bunny. She's just in the short pile Sherpa, and he's in long pile Sherpa. You can do your bunnies any way you want. You can do both long, both short, whatever. But on this set, I decided to do a short pile on the girl. So here she is. Now, for her, we're going to use some more girly fabric. I got this beautiful floral fabric from Hobby Lobby. They said it is one that is fairly new to them, and I love it. So we're going to work on the short side of our fabric here. Just going to snip off this factory edge here. Don't need that. And then we're going to work on her collar first. So I'm going to do, on her, I want her to have the raw edges around her collar. So we're going to do just about an inch for her collar. And we're going to do it the same way we did the boy. We're just not going to fold over the raw edges. We're going to let her keep those raw edges. And I'm just going to start by measuring from the center and measure around. Now you can pleat this if you would like, pleat it with the glue, or you can do a straight stitch and kind of pleat it that way. I'm just going to do mine straight around. I'm not going to pleat this one. Give it just a little bit of an overlap, and then I'll cut that off. And she's going to be done the same way. Now on her, we don't have as much fur to cover up the felt, which is fine. I'm just going to glue that down all the way around. And making sure the top of my fabric is going right up to the very bottom of the fur. I'm not overlapping it on the fur, but I'm just making sure that it meets up with that fur so that it looks nice and clean. And I'm not putting any glue on the fur, I'm just putting it on the felt that covered the top of the bed spring. The glue is going just on the felt. I did cut just a smidge too much for that overlap, so I'm just going to trim a little bit off. Okay. And that's what we have. This little collar that goes around. You're going to have glue strings and fur everywhere. That's just the name of the game with working with Sherpa and fabric and glue. But I think that looks pretty cute. Now, let's work on her little bow that is going to be on the bottom. We're going to go with probably about another inch wide. And all we're going to do on this is we're going to make kind of like the little awareness bow. And how you do that is just like that, cross it over in the front. Get all my strings off of here. And then this part is going to kind of fold down in the back. And we're just going to tie some hemp cord right there in the middle. It's going to make a cute little bow. So let me show you that again. You just have your two pieces of fabric, and I like to line up my tails. And then after they're lined up, I just cross them over each other. And then this is why they call it an awareness bow, because it looks like a little awareness ribbon. But then that just kind of folds down. And you can make them as big or as small as you want. I start with just a small one at first. And then, where did my string go? It's probably on the floor. We'll get another piece here. Okay. I start with a small one at first, and then I adjust it after. And I don't tie it super tight yet. I just tie it enough to gather it. I do have one hoop that's bigger than the other. That's okay, we can adjust. Just get it to the size that you want. Let's keep messing with it. I think that's probably good. And then I just like to make sure mine are about the same size on both sides. And then I will tie a good knot in the back here. Double it over. This hemp cord works really well because it kind of has like a waxy coating on it. Once you tie it a couple times, it's not going anywhere. Gotta love all the strings from the fabric. But I love working with fabric more so than ribbon for my bows. That's just my personal preference. And then I do want my tails to be a little bit longer, but I'm going to even them out because I ended up getting one side bigger than the other. And then you can, do the little dog ears if you want to on it. That's what I like to do, or you can cut it on the diagonal. I don't know the technical terms of it. We have our cute little bow. And I'm not going to worry about a center on this one because we're going to put a cute little button on right there in the center. The possibilities of, the different colors of bows you can do with fabric, it's just limitless. and the combinations, you could double it up and make it two-tone, and we are going to do that on the bow that's going to go on her ear. I'll show you how we do that. Let me get this glued on. We'll just do it right there in the center. And then she has her cute little bow. Now let's look through my buttons here and find just a neutral. Oh, this one would be cute. This one is just a little flower, and it's very neutral, just a light tan color. I think that will look cute. Oh yeah, that'll be cute. Smidge of glue. Got too much glue there. Sorry. Glue tool sometimes doesn't give me enough, and then other times it's giving me way too much. And this just makes it look very finished and intentional. All right, that's what we have so far for our girl. Now, let's work on a bow for her hair. I have this scrap left from doing her collar, so we're going to use that. And then I like to find just a plain, somewhat coordinating fabric, and I have this green. It doesn't match perfect, but it does look very good together. So I'm going to use this. I've used so much of this. I think I had like 2 yards or so of this at one point, and you can tell I've used a lot of it, especially in the spring and summer. It's a beautiful green color, and it's from Hobby Lobby as well. Most of my fabric that I do have is going to be from Hobby Lobby or Jubilee Fabrics, since Joann's isn't around anymore. But I didn't ever have a Joann's close to me. So what I like to do is I like to take the fabric that's going to be on the outside. So my main print fabric, I like that to be on the outside of my bow, and the solid color I like to be just kind of, a backer, just an accent on the back. So I like to lay down the width of my fabric that's, my print fabric. I like to lay the width of that. I like to match them up. And I make the back, the solid portion, I probably do 1/8 of an inch extra on each side. So I lay this down and just kind of eyeball whatever, about 1/8 to 1/4 inch. You can adjust that to whatever you want. I like it to just be just a little, can't talk today again, sorry. Oh, and that is very crooked. So we're going to do that again. I don't know why that tore off so crooked. And maybe even a 1/4 inch would be fine as well. Just whatever your personal preference is. There we go. That may be just a little bit more than I wanted, but it's okay. All right. And then I make them the same, pretty much the same length. And then all I do, and I'm keeping her bow in her hair with the frayed edges, I just kind of overlap them in the middle. And you can do a bow in each ear, but we're just going to do one ear, I think. Now, there it is. I'm going to take my hemp cord here, and I've got them overlapped just a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little. I'm just going to tie off my hemp cord. I just tie it once, and then I adjust before I do any double knot or anything. Now, if you're super talented and can get yours tied perfect and even the first try, please teach me your tricks, because I always have to mess with my bows just a little bit. And then what I do is I just fold it over to make sure they're close enough to the same size on both sides, and then I'll double knot. Now, for her, we could put, like a piece of green fabric and wrap it around the center to finish off the bow. You could put a button, but we're not going to do either. I think if it looks good, I think we might put one of these little yellow, like an off-white, creamy yellowish color, I think would be a good fit. And these are just little flowers that I get at Hobby Lobby. They're over in their scrapbooking section, like over by the embellishments, the stickers and stuff like that, the paper section. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue on the back of this little flower. We're going to just glue it right there in the center over our hemp cord. Let's bring our girl back here. And it's just going to sit right, whoop. We're going to glue it right there on her ear. And she will be done and ready for her new home. Now, these cute little bed spring bunnies, I can make them in custom colors. I can do a color range. I can't promise a certain print or anything because I'm limited to where I can get, my fabric in a timely manner. But I do custom ones with certain colors to match people's themes and things like that. And if anyone's interested in a completed one, you don't want to make one yourself, you can send me a message at the Pink Llama TX. Very few will be available because they are, a little time consuming to do. I mean, not really time consuming, just tedious. But here's the little girl, and then here's our little boy. And don't they make, and I like, when I'm trying to do them as a pair, I like to somewhat coordinate their little fabric so that it's either in the same color family and looks decent together, or it coordinates perfectly. But him and his little oversized bow tie, looks like it's a little crooked, but it's not. And then her, and there you go, they are that simple. So if you have any questions or need any information, don't hesitate to reach out. I am always happy to help anytime I can. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me. I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye, guys.